Okay, welcome to another episode of Above the Bridge. This is episode 8. Shout out to our sponsor, Defend Hawaii, for always giving me cool shirts to wear. Say hi to our producer, boy band John. What's up, John? All right. So today, my guest is pretty cool chick. She is one of Hawaii's female gun safety instructors for the state of Hawaii, where you can get certified. She also has a upcycling candle business. I know her through a bunch of friends, and she's pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked that she wanted to come on. Her name is Alyssa. What's up, Alyssa? How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So how this all came about was you posted something because you're a gun instructor on how something about women and how they should not be afraid or something like that. And I reposted it. And then I just got bombarded with questions like, oh, does this work? Or can you do this? And I'm just like, I don't know. I put the girl's thing up so you can ask her. And then my friend Rob, shout out to Rob Smith, he messaged me, he said, why don't you have her on your podcast? And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a great idea. So now you're here, and now I can ask all these questions that all these people were asking me about Hawaii gun laws. So right now, Hawaii's crazy with these gun rules, and from what I've been hearing around town is it's very hard to get a gun. People are price gouging because of the pandemic. A lot of people are buying them. Is that a correct statement? Or
it's very correct, actually. With the pandemic going on, and even with whole BLM as well too, a lot of people are trying to stock up. I would also say, not trying to get too political, but with the new administration coming up in January with Biden, a lot of people are trying to get as many firearms as they can because they're expecting firearm laws to get a lot more tougher during that time, I guess. So it's crazy. I have heard about some places price gouging, but there are some places that aren't. So I mean, as long as you know where to go, it's great. I mean, talk to knowledgeable people, ask questions. I think also too, a lot of people try and just get whatever firearm they can get their hands on. And I think that's kind of a wrong approach. I think what people need to do is they need to actually feel the firearm in their hands, make sure they can safely operate, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's hard, but it's definitely... it's possible.
Okay, before we get into any of the questions that I have for you, I kind of want to know how you got into this whole firearm like career of yours that you got going on, and what got you attracted to learning how to shoot guns and stuff like that.
So my dad was a competitive shooter. I started shooting when I was 6 years old. I grew up around firearms. I grew up going to the range every weekend, going hunting. So firearms were always just kind of a thing in my life. And I just, coming here, I actually had my place broken into once. And I was home too, but I didn't have my firearms. So, I mean, after that incident, I was like, nope, I need to bring my firearms here. I had a whole bunch in California because I'm originally from California. And ever since then, I really, really got into it. I mean, I've always been into it, but definitely ever since that moment, I got heavily into it.
So your house got broken into here in Hawaii, or
yeah,
shit?
In Hawaii. Yeah. So, and I have and I guarantee you it was an inside job too, but anyways, security, but everything's fine. I mean, they only stole my purse, really. So,
that's good.
How I found out was actually that there was a cigarette butt in like a container on my balcony. So they actually smoked a cigarette while I was home. And
whoa.
Yeah, I was sleeping too. So like they could have done worse to me too.
So they broke into your house, smoked a cigarette, and took your purse.
Yep.
And you live in a secure building?
Yep.
Oh, that would definitely get me to buy a load of guns.
Exactly. So from that moment, I was like, I called my dad and I was like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to start the process for Hawaii. I'm going to do what I need to do to bring my guns over. I need to protect myself. So for sure.
I guess that was a not such a bad thing that it happened, because you didn't really nothing bad happened, but you got woke to knowing that you
absolutely for sure. Definitely.
That's crazy. So you grew up around guns, and so how is the process in Hawaii? Because you're now a safety instructor, right? So it's something you need to acquire any firearm in Hawaii. You need to take the safety class.
Yeah. So that's going to be your first step, is to take the safety course. I teach for HGS. They're located in Mapunapuna. They're HGS 1911 on Instagram.
So HGS is what? Hawaii Gun Shop.
Mm-hmm. Hawaii Gun Shop. So that's the first step, is to take your class. The second step, if you haven't done so already, because now the state has actually implied the appointment system, and it's really difficult to get an appointment right now. I think a lot of people are trying to get an appointment, I think, for February right now, and it's still November. So if you haven't gotten an appointment to go apply for your permit, I would try and do so as soon as possible. But yeah, so you would take the class. It's like 4 hours of classroom and then about 2 hours maybe of live fire at the range. Once you get your classroom certification, you can then have your appointment to go apply for your permit to acquire. There's actually 2 different types of permits to acquire. So you have your handgun permit and then the long gun permit. It's a little different. But
and you can apply for them both at the same time.
Exactly. And I would suggest doing both of them at the same time, because it saves you a whole bunch of trips going back and forth from HPD. So once you apply, you go down to HPD, they usually take your fingerprints. They ask you for like medical, they take your picture, all of that stuff. They also ask for like proof of citizenship, or at least proof that you're like a legal, I think it's a legal alien resident, or just a permanent resident, something like that. I think it's a green card or something like that. They ask you for that. And then after that, you have to wait, I believe it's 14 days from that first appointment. And then it gets complicated. So after the 14 days, you have 7 days, like a 7-day window to go back to HPD and pick up your permit. Once you pick up your permit, you can then have 10 days to use that permit towards a handgun. For a long gun, it's different because it's one whole calendar year. But for handgun, you have to use it for every single permit that you get, or every handgun that you get, you have to reapply. It's difficult.
I see. So a pistol or
yeah. But you can do as many as you want too. Hawaii doesn't limit you for however many pistols, however many long guns you want. I mean, your limit is your wallet. So it's basically however many you want. I always tell like the guys that take my class, it's either your wallet or your wife. So
I'm going to say, okay, stop already. You got too many.
Mm-hmm. So then once you pick up your permit, you then are able to pick up your firearm. And then once you pick up your firearm, you then have 5 days to go back to HPD and then register, and then you're good.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You start off, you take your class.
Yes.
Okay. You take the class, you get certified as a safety gun fire person.
Yeah,
right?
you
took a gun safety class. Okay. You get the that paper, take it. Well, first you book your appointment and then go to the police station and apply for your permit to acquire a firearm.
Yes.
You get that permit, take it back to the gun shop and purchase your firearm.
Well, actually, you've already purchased your firearm because you would have had to given them the model, the make, the serial number.
Oh, you just can't take it home.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Like if someone didn't take my class already, they could have purchased a gun. Maybe like they could have purchased it yesterday. They could purchase it today, but they just wouldn't be able to take it home.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you had it purchased. You
Mm-hmm.
bring the permit back to the gun shop. Then you take the gun and bring it back to the police station to register it.
Yep.
Holy shit! No wonder people get illegal guns.
3 trips you're going to HPD. So, and you need the appointment to apply for the permit, and you need the appointment to register.
Okay, so this is what I'm hearing because I know people who have done this process. Mm-hmm. So after they got their permit and got their firearm, they registered to bring it to the police station. They applied for a spot for them to register it. Mm-hmm. But it's not till months down the road. And from what you're saying, you have 5 days to do it. But
yeah.
But HPD is not letting you bring it because you need an appointment. And that they're not giving out appointments till February. So then what do you do?
That's
so
a system, an HPD system. So if you can't register your firearm because you can't get an appointment, it's not your fault. They waive that. So, but don't forget to register your gun.
Okay, so say there's a window of the time where you have purchased your firearm, you got it, and you're waiting for your appointment to register it. Mm-hmm. You have your gun at your house. Mm-hmm. What are the rules in that time period? Like, can you take it to the range? Can you,
I wouldn't. The range doesn't check necessarily all the time. I have heard of random checks of HPD going to the range while people are there and just making sure everything is registered. So for me, what I tell my students is I just say I would keep it at home. I wouldn't take it out just to be safe. I mean, I wouldn't want to have any legal battles with HPD. So
for sure. That's a good topic to talk about because of the high demand of people getting firearms. They had to, and because of COVID, they can't just have a line of people outside. They have it to where it's appointment only. And I guess they can't really penalize you for not registering it within the 5 days if their appointments is booked out till a couple months. So I guess so. You just got to lock it up at home and hope nobody comes over and tries to
lock it up and keep it safe.
Yeah. Okay. So I had a few questions, just because, disclosure, I took, a course from your guys' place and I learned some things, but, I'm not sure if I'm going to get a gun or anything like that, but I had a lot of questions. Like, is there such thing as a open carry or concealed carry in Hawaii?
No, you cannot carry in the state of Hawaii. You can take the class to do so, but it wouldn't be for this state necessarily. I believe HGS offers the Arizona and the Utah classes. So I think that covers, a total of 36 of the concealed carry states. So if you were to take the class, you could only conceal carry in those states only. So
I see.
Yeah, you cannot.
So okay. So Hawaii, there's no way I could.
No. So the only time you can actually carry your firearm would be on private property. Private property that you own too. If you don't own it, I believe, and don't take my word for it, but I believe that you have to have written consent from the property owners for you to open carry. But it kind of gets into that gray area. I just tell my students, don't, unless you are doing it on your own property that you own.
So I could walk around my house with a holster and a gun, and
you could,
as long as I don't cross over the property line, then I'm
exactly.
Okay.
You could. Mm-hmm.
So just law enforcement and like military and stuff, they're the only ones allowed to have an open carry or concealed carry.
I believe so.
How do you feel about that? What do you think about that law? I mean, it's definitely different than other states.
If I don't feel that Hawaii, I mean, I know things are getting a little crazier now, especially just with things going on with the pandemic and everything. I don't feel that open carry is necessarily a good thing. It's kind of almost like asking people for it. I don't know, like you're basically putting a target on your back when you do open carry. So, I mean, if I were to do any type of carry, I would definitely prefer concealed carry, only because people don't need to know what I'm carrying and people don't need to know what I have. I don't need to make myself a target. I just don't need to draw attention to myself. I'm only going to be using it if I do, because I do have my permit for concealed carry for those 36 states. I would only, and it's covered, like you can't even see it. Like if you were just looking at me, you wouldn't be able to tell. And that's, I feel like, the best. I don't feel that open carry is good.
Oh, I see.
I mean, it's better than nothing, but I mean,
yeah. I guess it's like cowboy days. You can just wear your guns and whatever.
For sure.
All right. So I had some people hit me up on Instagram to have me ask you some questions. Like, so one of them was, what are your thoughts about women shooting firearms? And what would your advice be for someone who might be kind of on the fence about trying it if they're a female? And I mean, you got into it and I mean, seems fun for you or important for you to know. So I'm sure like hearing your opinion about it could kind of sway some girls to want to protect themselves with firearms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tell everyone firearm safety isn't just for, the dudes or for the guys or it's for everyone really. I mean, growing up, like my dad knew that he had the firearms in the house. I knew that they were in the house. My mom knew, my sister, everyone. So, I mean, he wanted to make sure that we knew how to operate and safely handle firearm, basically, just in case. God forbid if we were ever put in a situation. I mean, firearms is kind of scary. I like to say scary in quotes because some people think they're scary, but they're not. They're tools, right? So as long as you safely handle them and properly handle them and know the repercussions of, misuse and mishandling, I feel like it's great knowledge for everyone. I always love it when there's female shooters in the class because usually it's always the guys and like I'm always just teaching a whole bunch of dudes, whatever. But I love it when girls take the class too. It's fun and it's showing kind of a shift in I guess of thinking for people that firearms aren't just for dudes, it's for everyone. So
yeah. And when I took the class, there's a female shout out to Des. She
right?
took the class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was very excited and it was kind of cool to see how into it she was. I thought like as a dad who has a daughter, like I definitely would want my daughter to kind of learn how to use them or eventually, because I mean I'm not going to be able to protect her like her whole life and
yeah,
I could teach her how to fight or do martial arts, but if someone comes in with a gun, like that goes out the window and basically not, you can't do much about it.
Too, even with little kids, I mean, you never know nowadays with kids. I mean, it may not even be like a home invasion with Arya, It could be, what if one day she goes over to a friend's house and her friend says, hey, look what I got, or look what my dad has, you know what I mean? She should at least know the knowledge of what to do when that, if and when, and hopefully that never does ever happen, but she should know what to do in that situation. Like, make sure that it's unloaded. Yeah, like never ever assume a gun is loaded, or unloaded. You know what I mean? So you always want to check to make sure if the firearm is loaded or not. That's the very, very first thing you want to do. The second thing is just make it safe. And I mean, it could happen not even just to Arya, it could happen to someone, like even one of your boys. Like if one of your boys even got a firearm, a brand new firearm, and say he just got it, like whatever you do, you always want to check to see if it's safe. And I think people should know how to do that just in general.
That makes sense. Okay, another question I had was how would you go about in choosing a firearm?
Choosing a firearm. So
yeah,
that all comes down to, so the ergonomics is very important. You want to know how to handle it and safely operate it. Like whether you can rack a firearm and make it safe. That's the main important thing. The caliber as well too. I mean, the higher the caliber, the more money you're going to be spending. So you want to also make sure you're within your budget. Firearms is quite expensive.
yeah, it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, it can get pretty pricey. So, I mean, I think people should be realistic within their price range. I mean, I've gotten guys that come to the shop sometimes right after class and they're like, I want the 50 caliber Desert Eagle. And like,
it's the coolest thing they seen on what you call it, John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. No, people always come in, I want the John Wick gun. I just give me that. I'm like, you can't even rack it though. Like, what's the point? Or like, I don't know. It's just as long as you like ergonomically can handle it and it feels comfortable. A lot of the grips too are very different between the different firearms. Some are a little bit more bulkier. Some are a little bit more sleek. Usually the females tend to like the more sleek like the grips. Another thing too is some of the options that like SIG offers an ambidextrous. So you can do left and right control.
That would help me because I'm left-handed.
Yeah, so that would be a really good one for you. And or say like for home defense, if my right arm got hurt or whatever, and I can't use my right arm, but I can still shoot with my left. You know what I mean? So just kind of things that you can think about. But I mean, really, I would say also when you do pick out a firearm, also feel a trigger. So whenever you do go shopping, ask if you can dry fire. Whoever the shop owner, whoever's helping you, I just ask them, can I feel a trigger? Like most of the time they'll say, yeah, go for it. But it's different. Every single firearm is different. So it's definitely important to go in, get your hands, feel it out, basically.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. You just don't get the coolest gun. You kind of got to go with what works for you. I mean, I would assume you'd kind of shop around and see what works. Like that's kind of good you said that, because like if I were to get one, I'd already be like Googling the coolest gun on the internet and trying to figure it out. And yeah, I have some kind of hand cannon that I probably couldn't even operate correctly. Okay, one of our other questions was what is the biggest misconception about firearms?
Misconception. That's a good one, because firearms are too often made bad. A lot of it has to do with the media. A lot of it has to do with what's going on in the world today. Basically, the media has labeled firearms as, bad, dangerous. Firearms are not bad or dangerous. It's the people that are bad and dangerous.
It kind of goes up with everything, huh?
Yeah, the people that are misusing firearms. I mean, cigarettes are killing people too, right? It's sad what's happened in the world, and I'm not trying to discredit any of the shootings that's happened, but in the past, what has happened over like in those shootings has been absolutely heart-wrenching. But it's not the firearms, and I think that's what the media needs to kind of not put that light on. I think what they just say is like that person was having issues and maybe mentally or whatever. But I think that's one of the hugest misconceptions is that they're scary, they're dangerous, I mean, they're tools. They're not going to do anything if you just leave it there. They only do whatever you tell it. If you're going to pull the trigger, of course it's going to fire. They do what you tell it to do. So, firearms, I mean, to me, firearms are just tools. Growing up, we went hunting. So, I mean, it was our ways of providing food for the family. It was a sport. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, growing up, it was just, plinking. I started off 22. Everyone usually does when they're kids. So.
It's like a souped up pellet gun.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just, they're tools. They're not evil. They're inanimate objects. How do I say it?
Yeah. Sounds right. They're not going to do nothing unless you make it do something.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just your perception, I guess. And I mean, people aren't as, I guess, people were more sheltered, I guess, than I was growing up. I see. So, I mean, my parents were very open with firearms with me. And I mean, they taught us that if you misuse it, then there's going to be some big consequences. So, yeah.
So that's good to have that education at an early age. So it's kind of second nature.
Absolutely. I mean, my kids, I've already said, they're going to practice loading and making it safe. They're going to doing everything. But yeah.
That's kind of cool. Okay. So I had someone, what is that?
I had a quick question real quick. Alyssa, so I work at Mopuna also at Olelo. So literally across the street is Young Guns. So ever since the pandemic, just been seeing long lines and sometimes we get kind of scared. We're like, whoa, I'm like, it's not even like all MAGA-ish people, It's like, local people, just like
regular people.
But it's just like, is it because they can't have that many people in line or like inside the store at the same time? Or is it just because of the pandemic, everybody's getting nuts and like got to protect their homes and, protect themselves and whatnot?
Definitely the pandemic. I would say also with the Black Lives Matter too, with all of the riots going on and all of that. It's just been, people are wanting a lot of business owners that we've noticed that have been wanting to get firearms. So then that way they can protect themselves just in case if something were to happen. I've definitely seen a ton of business owners come in. So
that's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, people want to protect themselves, but I mean, it's weird because, I don't know. It's kind of scary because for me on the safety part, I'm like, all these people, it's kind of overwhelming. It's all these new people, right? And it's just, I want to like do whatever I can to teach them to like, please be safe. Like, I don't want any of my students to like have any like accidents or whatever.
Yep. And they're going to trace it back to the teacher.
No, after that, my hands are clean. I'm just like,
that's on you.
The background check, everything. That's for the HPD's job.
Okay. So one
tell HPD flag. Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say we could actually flag HPD, like, if we felt that someone was like kind of suspicious, we could actually give them a heads up and be like, hey, you might want to,
that's kind of cool.
Kind of an interesting thing. But yeah, sorry.
If you have some weird person in your class and be like, hey, maybe you don't give this person a new gun. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a construction worker hit me up and they work out of their truck and they were wondering if they can keep their firearm in their truck when they're at work.
No.
No.
So that's basically, I mean, it wouldn't fall under the private property rule. You would have to like basically private land is basically what the rule I believe is. But that would be considered concealed carry and that is not legal. It's actually considered a Class B felony if you do get caught. So, I wouldn't do that. The only time you can have it in your car is when you're traveling. Like, say if you're going home from the rain or home to the range or home to like the gun shop or like HPD, whatever, that's the only time you can have it in your car, and it's actually supposed to be inaccessible. So it wouldn't be able, like if you had it in your glove compartment, that would be not acceptable. I usually tell people to keep it in the back, like in the trunk.
Okay.
If they have a truck, I would say keep it in the cab, but don't have it super easy to where they can just like grab it, you know, and just like.
That makes sense.
Keep it away, I would say. So yeah, especially at work, I wouldn't.
Okay.
You can get in trouble with work too.
So if you're gonna go to work and then go to the gun range after, like you would suggest go home first, grab it, and then go.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So you can't make any stops in between. So like even for gas, you're technically legally not supposed to stop for gas or like stop for anything. Like you can't grab a Starbucks, you can't grab lunch. So once you're done with the range, after you're done, you usually have to go straight home. And the cool thing about the ranges over here is they actually require you to sign in. So that way you have proof that you actually were at the range too.
I see.
So in case you do get pulled over, I mean, usually when I
the range.
Yeah. I mean, if I were to get pulled over after the range, I would only disclose if I had the firearms if the cop asked me. I wouldn't. I mean, if they asked me, oh, what were you doing? And I would have been like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going home. You know what I mean? And then if I mentioned that I went to the range, they're going to be like, oh, do you have guns? And of course I'll say yes, you know, I'll disclose it.
Well, that's kind of the rule of thumb with anything. Don't give any cop any information that they don't ask, right? That's yeah. Don't be like, as soon as they pull you over, I have 5 guns in the trunk.
Yeah. They're gonna freak out.
Yeah. Well, you learned that growing up in Hawaii. Don't tell the cops nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's just what you do. Like if they ask you, answer. If they don't ask, they don't need to know. Okay, that's a good rule of thumb.
It's not like we were doing anything bad anyway. You were just going to the range, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, shoot. I had a question, and this is probably the one everybody wants to know, and I'm gonna ask it because this is something that I really want to know. And if someone comes into your house, what is the deal with being able to protect yourself and not be in trouble for doing that? Like, someone breaks into your house, can you just plug them, or is there some things you got to say, or like because that's the reason for having firearms is to protect yourself. But when can you protect yourself with a lethal firearm?
Yeah, that's a good question. It gets a little tricky. Basically, if someone were to come in and if you yourself felt that your life was in danger, or say if like your family member, like Arya, like what Arya's life was in danger, then you would have right to use force. If they were just rummaging in your house and just like, you know, they're probably stealing something, probably, yeah, I wouldn't say, I mean, it just kind of, you yourself would have to feel threatened, like any type of bodily injury. I believe it's forcible sodomy, rape, those are all means of firing. So when anyone's life is in danger is when you can. But you're probably, you'll get arrested. The cops
either way.
Either way. In any type of homicide, cops will arrest you. It's up to the prosecutors whether they charge you or not. Not any type of legal advice, but that's what I would do. So, I mean, if they're going to come in and if I feel threatened, I mean, they don't know what I'm assuming they don't know that I have. So, I mean, if I feel threatened,
might now, nobody listens to this show.
Yeah. Nah. I listened to it. I listened this morning.
That's cool. So So if somebody's say like in your situation, somebody came into your house and was grabbing your purse or smoking a cigarette, and you knew they were there, could you use your firearm as a deterrent? Like, hey, get out of my house or I'm gonna shoot you. Like, could you do that? Or it's just if you're threatened, like they're coming at you, then you can.
If they're coming at you, then yeah, it's definitely, I would say, means of they're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If someone were to come at me in my house, yeah, they would be done. It's not, I'm sorry, it's not going to be a shot to the shoulder. It's not going to be a shot to the leg. They'll be done. So,
yeah.
If I felt that I was in that much danger, then yes,
I'd be the same way. If someone's coming after my daughter, I'd plug them and go to Zippies and have a good night's sleep after and not lose a second of.
Yeah.
I could care less. Like, but
well, I mean, you probably would want to call the cops and let them know. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Well, somebody got to take them away.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
Ain't clean this shit up.
Yeah. But it's like, if it worked, could you use it as a deterrent? Like if say you were in your room and somebody was in the living room trying to take your TV, and what would you do? Would you just like hunker down and just wait, or would you go out there and be like, hey, leave? Or
I'd probably call the cops if I didn't feel like my life was at immediate danger. I would probably just call the cops and be like, hey, someone's in my house. I do have a firearm. I'm not planning on using it until I feel absolutely that I need to. But I would probably just immediately call the cops and just hopefully pray for the best. And if they do come for me, well, I'll be waiting.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And then I had another question kind of in pertaining to that. When you have a firearm in your house and you want it secure, especially if you have kids, but you also want it accessible in case something like that happens, what would you recommend? Like you put in a safe, somebody's happy, you got to kind of figure out the combination and whatnot. And that by that time it might be too late. You know what I mean? And what would be a safe way to have your firearm accessibly ready in case of an emergency?
So they actually have one that it's by the nightstand, and it's actually a fingerprint. It's like, you know how iPhones have the fingerprint thing. So it's actually it's holstered basically by your nightstand.
Okay.
And basically ready to go. You can just put your finger, but it's fingerprint obviously, and then it releases. You can do that one. They also have like the kind of like, I guess if you have kids, there's ones where like they have books.
Oh, yeah.
Basically a small little safe kind of thing. There's also clocks too that they have. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do. But I keep mine. I mean, mine are in the safe. I have it. I don't even have the thumbprint or anything. Mine just in the safe. And if I need to, hopefully I'm ready to go.
So would you store it with rounds in the chamber, or?
I store mine on the side.
Okay, so you would have to activate it and chamber around for it to be ready to use. And would you suggest that, or?
Yeah, you can. You can leave the magazines loaded by all means. Yeah. I mean, I know some people that keep it already chambered, but I mean, that's just how I guess their preference. My preference is completely separate. I mean, like just next to each other, not completely separate, but yeah, just right there. And I can just put my mag in and ready to go.
Okay.
Takes like a second. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast.
From my martial arts training, I would always was taught muscle memory. So they would say practice makes perfect, but to me that's bullshit. Perfect practice makes perfect. So I would assume with a firearm, muscle memory would be an important thing, to where you would have to take it to the range and learn how to use it, because if you have it in your house and don't do shit with it, and then it comes to a emergency situation, you're not gonna know what to do. I used to teach a self-defense for women, and their whole thing was pepper spray, and they would have it in their purse, and they would have about 2 seconds to get it out and shoot it, and they've never shot it before. They didn't know how to work the safety. So I would have a water one, and I would say, here you go, put it in your purse, and I'm gonna come attack you. And no one could get me wet with it by the time. So it's like, you need to practice with your firearm, and you need to practice the right way where it becomes muscle memory, because in a life and death situation, you need to know by just muscle memory what you got to do. Is that okay? That makes sense.
100%. I actually practice with dummy rounds all the time. So my fiance, he didn't necessarily shoot as much prior to me. Now he shoots. So
well, he has to. He better not piss you off either. Hey, congrats on getting engaged, by the way. Shout out to your fiance. That's cool. Okay.
Thank you. I know planning a wedding in COVID is just amazing.
That's awesome.
Anyways. But no, I make him practice. I mean, even when I was little at home, my dad would make us practice with dummy rounds too. I mean, it's good to just have that practice, like just loading the magazine, making the gun safe, just getting it ready, all of that. It's highly recommend it.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
Even
well,
it's like good.
Yeah. And there's a lot of mods you can do to make it more comfortable, right? You can buy certain grips or change the trigger and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my advice would be practice, because
practice. Yeah. And remember, this is your number one safety. Your finger.
Okay. Your
Always finger off the trigger.
All right.
Until you're absolutely ready.
Yeah.
That was like probably the main thing that everyone, like in my class, the new class people do. They always keep their finger on the trigger. I'm like, why is your finger on the trigger? You're like not even aiming the target right now. So you're not ready to shoot. Just keep your finger off the trigger.
So what, you take them to the range too and do all the firing with the class?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
we
that's
go over
crazy.
all the fundamentals. We go over proper handling, proper grip, proper stance, breathing, trigger control, aim control, all of that. It's good fun.
Yeah, I mean, I took the class and I had a lot of fun. I got to shoot some guns that I never really was into it before. I went with one of my martial arts instructors, but it was not anything supervised. We're in Hawai'i Valley shooting cans and shit. But it's fun, but definitely not something worth my knowledge about it. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. I had a friend in the mainland that took me to shoot guns. Shout out to Yams. He's very into guns and he takes all front sight courses, and he's probably my go-to guy if I have a question about a firearm.
Right on.
As well as you too. But it's kind of cool to have people that are so in deep with it that I could ask, you know what I mean? Because I mean, it's serious. It's a serious thing if you're trying to get into it, and it's not like a toy and for me, as honest as I can be, growing up, I knew I was not mature enough to have one. Like, and maybe now that I have a daughter and stuff, I'm kind of thinking about it. But prior to that, no, there's no way. I knew already my maturity level would not be good for me to have one of those things. Especially if I got mad or something, then yeah, it's just something I was not all in tune to getting ever. But I have a daughter. Now I have a daughter, and they're gonna have boys coming around.
Oh, man. I remember dating too. When I like first started dating, my dad was really like, "I'm a competitive shooter, you know," and like,
that must have been fun.
He'd bring out the shotgun, and he's just like, Dad.
See, if I'm gonna get guns, it's just gonna be for that. So when my daughter brings home a dude, I can just be cleaning them, and it's like I'm never ever gonna use it.
Bad Boys? What is it?
Yeah,
Bad
exactly. Just wave it around. Oh, what do you want?
Oh gosh, yeah. That's all
Okay,
right.
so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna leave it open where if people have any questions out there, they can message me on Instagram and I'll get the answers from you, because I mean, I had a bunch of questions, and I'm sure after watching or listening to this, people are going to have more questions. And
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
so anybody out there has any more questions, just hit me up on Instagram, and then I'll get the answers for you. Kind of want to change up the topic right now because the fact that it's Christmas and people are going to start wanting to get presents, and you have a business that, I gotta admit, I have one of your candles and I lit it in my living room and the whole fucking house smelled like graduation. It was like the best smell ever. Like, so your you gotta tell me about this candle business because it's pretty cool. Like, I go to Bed Bath and Beyond, or what is it? Body Works.
Bath and Body Works.
That's the one. And their stuff is cool, but yours like travels, the smell travels the whole, like I can smell it in my room, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And I don't even, it smelled like pikake or like Kenny Kenny. And I was like, holy crap. That was, yeah, it smelled like graduation. I'm like, can we just keep this on every day? So like,
good, and I can refill it for you too.
So first off, how did you get into making candles? Because like, you don't just wake up one day and be like, I'm gonna be a candle maker, like, did you?
Anyone that's been over to my house knows that I'm always constantly burning candles. I always had candles everywhere. I had seen a couple different companies, I guess, that were doing what I do, because mine is a little different. I actually take bottles, like champagne bottles, liquor bottles, and I upcycle them. So upcycling.
So after you drink it.
Yes. So you drink it, consume whatever is inside, and then what we do is we cut the bottles, we sand it, make sure it's nice and smooth, and then we pour. We use all natural soy wax, so I don't know if you've noticed, but your candles should have lasted a little bit longer than normal candles too.
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah,
it's still going. Yeah,
it should last like 30 to 50% longer, or so they say. So, it's actually also cleaner to burn versus the paraffin wax. So there's no harsh chemicals and everything. But yeah, I actually have one here. So this one's, it's a Vouv. It's a champagne.
Okay. So that's, for me, that's kind of would be my niche too, is like, okay, well, I like to drink Crown, and now I could turn like my passion for Crown into something that I can display in my house and have it smell like gardenias or whatever.
Exactly. So, I mean, and it's also helping the environment, because instead of throwing it in the trash, and I know being in Hawaii, we live on an island, we need to be, more sustainable and try to reduce our carbon footprint but as much as possible. So by reducing that amount of trash and upcycling it, making it into something creative and useful, it's kind of a win-win for everyone. So it's cool.
So,
Ignite Candle Bar.
Ignite Candle Bar. That's the name of your company.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm thinking already, like, I could do a collaboration with you, because when the clubs open back up, I could sell bottles at the club and then grab those bottles after they're done, because they end up in the trash.
Yeah.
And I could just bring a big bag of bottles to your house, and then you can make those into candles. And because they're like, some of those bottles, they're like super cool, like Ace of Spades, and like
I actually have a bunch. Well, I didn't.
Oh yes, I want to see that. Do you have an Ace of Spade one?
Okay. Well, I have one cut. Let me check. One sec.
Okay.
All right. So
it's see, that looks legit. That looks cool.
But it's empty right now, but I haven't filled it. But yeah, I would basically fill it up, and they can, do bottle service, and I don't know, take their candle home after when it's done. I don't know.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So So say you do you sell a candle and they use it and you can refill it and okay, so it's kind of like a endless candle then.
Yep. So you don't have to feel bad for burning it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know some of those Bath and Body Work candles is like, I'm only gonna burn it for a special occasion because you know what I mean. It's like that costs $6 or $7 or whatever it is.
I think they charge 25.
25. Yeah. See, that's why I don't buy many candles. I'll buy your candles though. So, what flavors or scents? What scents do you have?
I've got a ton. I've got right now I'm doing a bunch of holiday scents. So I've been doing like cinnamon swirl, cedar and balsam, sugar plum, stuff like that. I also do carry some of my other popular scents would be like the Hawaiian sandalwood or the pikake. But I also do designer scents too. So we do like Chanel No. 5, Dolce & Gabbana, Versace, stuff like that. So you can get my website has all the lists. You can check it out, and yeah, it's pretty fun. It's definitely keeps me busy. I'm already busy, and it keeps me even busier.
Oh yeah, and with the holidays coming up, that could be a super cool gift because I mean, all girls have candles, right? And if they can pick their own scent and put their favorite alcohol as their candle holder, that's kind of cool.
For sure.
I'm probably gonna have to get a grip from you to give out to people because yeah, that's gonna be a good gift. All my friends are going to get crown candles this weekend. I mean, for Christmas. That could work out well, though. I mean, it's something that I'm probably they're not going to throw away and they'll use, right?
I hope so. So even if you don't want to refill, we usually like to encourage people to use it as like maybe a flower base or even a pen holder. I know some girls that use theirs as like a makeup brush holder too. So
okay,
it's just whatever you do, don't throw it away.
All right. That's awesome. All right. Well, we kind of been going for a while. Like anything else you want to plug about your business?
That's about it.
That's kind of cool that you turned it into a business. What was it? Started out as a hobby for yourself?
A hobby, and then we just kind of expanded. We actually are having our 1-year anniversary coming up next month. So
congrats.
I'm thinking of an anniversary sale and soon.
So how do you do your marketing for your business?
Instagram.
Word of mouth.
Word of mouth, Instagram. I usually send a little flyer home with every customer, just kind of explaining what we do. I mean, we've gained great relationships with some of the bars. Well, bars are closed now, but a lot of like the restaurants and areas around. At one point, we were actually collecting from 939. Shout out to Stuart. Thank you so much.
Brother Stuart.
Every Sunday, we were at the strip club, basically collecting empty bottles. And
definitely have to like disinfect those bottles.
Yeah, we definitely had to. But it was great. It was great. But we also collect from like 53. 53 has been amazing, and just a bunch of friends. So thank you to all the friends. I know Sasha's holding me a couple bottles too.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, that's good. Well, hopefully you have a good Christmas and a lot of sales for your candle business. For me, it's always cool to talk with girls that are doing things like productive and starting their own businesses. And it's like in this day and age, a lot of girls don't have a direction. So when someone does, and it's one of my friends, it's like, oh, yup, like that's inspiring. And watching girls do that, I always I tell my daughter, oh, look at Auntie, she's doing this. Or it's like, you can do any kind of thing that you want to do. It always makes me happy when I see that, and guys too. But like when girls like just become bosses, it's pretty cool to see. And like, I always want to bring those girls on my show and let them talk, because when I get older and my daughter gets older, she can always watch these episodes and maybe get inspiration from what you said or from what somebody else said in one of the shows. And it's like women are becoming fierce, and that's where the direction needs to go. Like, you guys got to do your own thing and make your own moves. Yeah,
we do. And I think a lot of times too, we need to just learn how to build each other up too, instead of, comparing ourselves to others. And it's just, I feel like, especially with social media, it's just everyone's trained to just compare. Like, oh, she's doing this, or oh, she has that, or oh, she, like, no, you need to just not focus on other people. Just focus on yourself and you're good.
Yeah, I got so much opinions about social media. I posted this one thing: if social media ever shut down, would you still be a model? Like,
oh yeah,
like some of these people, their life is Instagram, and it drives me nuts. It's like, I definitely gotta deter my daughter from being one of those people where like social media is their life, because it's not. Life is way better.
Yeah. Make an impact, not digitally, but outside of the world, the real world.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you definitely are. And that's two main, like, very diverse. You're a gun advocate and instructor, and then you're a candle maker. Like, it's kind of opposite.
Save the world too at the same time by reducing trash.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. But don't come and steal your candles. I guess it's a yin yang balance, right?
For sure, definitely.
All right, on. Well, we've been going on for a while, so I think we can have John ask the question of the week.
Yeah.
Right.
Before we ask that, do you have any like funny, I don't want to say funny stories, but any funny occurrences handling a gun, or just like, teaching one of the, either students or something like that?
That's a good question. What was the craziest thing that happened to you while you were teaching a class?
Okay. Yeah. Maybe not funniest. So it actually happened maybe a few classes ago, maybe the class right before your guys' class. I was at the range, and it wasn't my student. Let me just say that. But we were shooting. We were shooting on the right side, and we had this one guy on our left side. And I was noticing he had just horrible trigger control. He just kept his finger on the trigger the entire time, and it just drove me nuts. And like, he was pointing it and like up in the air. I mean, you don't want to point your firearm up in the air, right? Just because whatever goes up comes down, right? So you want to just keep it downrange or point it downward. But the guy, I guess, had his bag behind him on the bench, and he actually took his firearm with his finger on the trigger, took the firearm, pointed it to everyone on the left, and grabbed whatever he needed from his bag, and then with his gun again, put it back onto the bench there. And I just had about a cow. I was like, I was floored. I was like, what are you doing? I started yelling. I was like, don't, you just pointed your firearm to all these people. And I don't know if you know Kenji from Anheuser-Busch.
Yes, I do.
Actually to the
Was it him?
No, it wasn't him. It was, he pointed his firearm to the, pointed right at him. And I was like, hey, watch out.
Duck.
Yeah, I was just livid. I was like, no, you do not do that at all. You want to keep your firearm on the bench at all times. You never want to, especially point it to all these different, there had not 50 people, but a whole bunch of people, COVID, right? So there wasn't that many people, but there was a whole bunch of people that he pointed his firearm. That was probably the craziest thing ever.
I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed.
I was livid. And the range masters, we have a really good relationship with them. So they were like, good job.
I wouldn't have mind seeing you go ham on somebody.
I came home and I told my fiance, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe what just happened. I was mad. That
was a good question.
That happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll ask the question of the week. Good story. Question of the week is, what are three guns Oh wait, shit. I'll edit this part. Hold on. What are
You
your
had one job.
Hold on. Okay, question is, what are your 3 favorite guns that you have fired?
Okay, so I just posted one. It was kind of a cool one. It's the Chiappa Rhino and the Nebula. It's this really cool revolver. It actually is like kind of rainbow colored.
Rainbow, okay.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I would say that's the really cool one. The most powerful one that I've shot was the Desert Eagle 50 cal. And so that was fun. And I also like to do long range pistols too. So that was, just any long range pistol is really cool because I like shooting long range. In Hawaii, I think the longest at like Coco Head is 100 yards. So, with a pistol.
That's wow.
So, yeah.
Can it get accurate that far out?
Very, yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Remington is really good. Yeah.
Okay. So my 3 is, like I said, I haven't really shot much, but I did shoot with one of my instructors, one of my martial arts instructors, and I got to shoot a 30-06, which, that thing had some power, but like we were doing like not safe stuff. I think we had like a Mountain Dew bottle and shook it up, and then I plugged it from like maybe like 15 yards away. But
as long as you knew what was beyond your target, then you're
it was just a mountain. But
okay.
And then I shot a 357 revolver, and that was like a hand cannon. Like I shot that, and like my soul got jolted. It was a beast. And then when I was in Arizona, my friend Yams, he had this shotgun, and it was all tricked out and stuff, and I got to shoot that, and it wasn't like a regular shotgun. It was like some high tech thing, and I shot a slug, and when I just to feel the power, is you understand this is not a toy. What you see in the movies is bullshit, and you gotta take everything serious. You can't play. It has to be you can't just. I can understand how it's fun, but you have to take it very seriously. And
for sure,
immediately from shooting that, I realized, okay, this is no joke. This is something that gotta be taken seriously. It was fun though. Yeah. My friend Yams has a whole. He had like AR. He had like a bunch of guns, and he let me try all of them, and like he's very into educating people about firearms. So he was having fun teaching me a bunch of stuff, how to hold the gun, like how to shoot, wait for the like don't anticipate the recoil, and
should be a surprise.
Yeah, so I went to the range with him for like a couple hours, and I learned way more than I ever did shooting in Waiahole Valley. You know what I mean? Like, and I talked to him about it a lot, and it was cool. So that's the 3 that I got to fire. Hopefully I'll fire some cool other ones.
Yeah,
I should just go to the range with you. Yeah, yep, definitely.
Definitely.
Well, let's wrap this up. For your business, how can they find you for your candle bar?
So they can find me on Instagram, Ignite Candle Bar, so at Ignite Candle Bar. And if they're wanting to take the class, you can either hit up my Instagram, it's Ms_Ace26, or you can also hit up HGS1911. Either of those accounts, we can get you set up for the class. I believe it's $135 per person, plus you get a $25 gift certificate too. So
to the store
on your first pistol purchase. So
all right. Well, for this episode is kind of more of a formal question and answer, because a lot of people had questions because of the whole gun situation in Hawaii. So I figured you'd be the best person to talk to. So I definitely appreciate you coming on because I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot, and that's a good thing, right? Hopefully people out there can learn something and not be afraid of firearms and to respect them. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think firearms is, I mean, even if you're new to it, even if you're been around them, I feel like knowledge is always the answer. I feel like you can always, expand your knowledge and continue learning. There's always something new to learn. So
yeah,
that's great for sure. Thanks for having me. This is cool.
Yeah, for sure. And for us, you can find us on IG, Above the Bridge Podcast. Our YouTube is Above the Bridge Pod, and visit us on the website at atbpod.com. And go follow Boy Band John. It's BBJ808 on Instagram. Right on. Well, thank you again for coming on our show. As always, shout out to the Artist Groove Network, and thank you very much.